I want you to imagine a future here where the NASCAR schedule is released. There's no Richmond, there's no Iowa. That's been put back to the Xfinity Series only. North Wilkesboro is part of the schedule still as the All-Star race, but more just part of a money funding agreement between NASCAR and SMI and the North Carolina government. Martinsville has its 400 lap race in the spring, and that's it. And Bristol's night race is now its lone race with 400 laps. There's nothing happening down the pipeline for the Nashville Fairgrounds or any other short track. This seems unrealistic. I understand. It seems drastic. It seems dire. But this is also something that would seem completely crazy in the 80s or 90s if I were to say that about North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, one of the Darlington dates, and the possibility of Martinsville losing a date. All of those realistic things between 1996 and 2005. And my point of bringing this up is that I think short track racing right now is still in serious trouble. Now, I think people were sounding the alarm bells years before me, and obviously they were right, but I did think that it was a little too soon. But they could see on the horizon what I didn't. And with this now, you have the race we had in Bristol, which I think was supremely underwhelming in just about every single way. And I'm not going to lie, I was incredibly frustrated. My post-race stream was mostly me rambling because I couldn't put together full coherent thoughts. I was so irritated by what I saw. And I'm still irritated by what I saw. But the problem is that Bristol was bad. Bristol was really bad. And I get there's people that want to defend the car, defend the track, defend whatever. But we need to address this, I think. And NASCAR definitely needs to address this. It's not time anymore to push stuff down the road or pussyfoot around it. It's time to take action, because here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about short track racing. Short track racing in the NASCAR Cup Series is actually some of the least watched racing in the Cup Series. The lowest watched race since about 2018 has almost always been a short track of the scheduled ones run, excluding rain delays, of course. And with that, it was Richmond for a long time. Richmond has lost a date. Now, generally, it's the Bristol night race, which is crazy to say because years ago, this was one of the most clamored for events that any fan could go to. This was a race that people left tickets for it in their will because of the 6, 7, sometimes longer year wait list to even have an opportunity at nosebleeds at the track, where 160,000 of us NASCAR fans would all assemble and make Bristol, Tennessee the place to be. Now, yeah, that place has a lot of people in the fall, and I've been at a lot of Bristol night races. It's fun, but it does not have that aura. And there's a lot of things wrong that need to be addressed. There are two big ones, though: the car and the track. And I want to talk about short track racing in general here and Bristol. So here we go. First one, the car. To me, at this point, we have to just admit it. I'd been holding out hope for a while that there would be fixes for it, but the next-gen car is inherently broken. And again, I know a lot of people have been saying that in my comment sections and probably thinking, well, duh, but we have to accept facts. This car only works at Atlanta Super Speedway and mile-and-a-half intermediates, and maybe we can add in Michigan in there. Other tracks like road courses, super speedways, and especially short tracks, you don't see really good racing consistently, if ever. And if something doesn't work at the majority of the places it's supposed to, we say it's broken. And it is. It is a broken car. It is a broken model. It is not functioning the way a NASCAR Cup Series car should. The thing is that this is year 4. This is not like it's the first year trial run. This is not like it is the second year where there's still some things to iron out. Year 4 for the COT full time was 2011, one of the greatest seasons that we could ever have imagined in our past when it comes to a sport. When you look at the Gen 6 era, the 4th year for that was 2016, one with amazing finishes, some pretty good racing, and NASCAR figured out a pretty good middle ground between the excessively high horsepower we had as well as the 750 package, but taken away downforce. Unfortunately, with both those models, we either went away from it too quickly or we ruined it. But with this, the next gen, in my opinion, has only gotten worse. Why? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, because I think that people have figured it out in the industry. I think that's the big one. Two, the problems were there and we now see it. I think those are the biggest ones as to why people are looking at this differently. We're fatigued to it. This isn't the new car anymore. And the thing is, a lot of people are saying, no, it's not the car. It's still not the car. It's just the track. And the track has its issues. We'll get to that. But the problem is that this car has problems everywhere. If it was just Bristol, sure. Bristol has changed over the years. Bristol applies different things to it to race better, and Bristol has a different tire coming to it. Okay, yeah, sure. I get that. But Martinsville has not changed. Martinsville hasn't changed since 2003, 4, 5, whenever the hell it was repaved last. Richmond, not really changed other than the sealer not being put on it, but they stopped doing that 20 years ago. All right. Daytona, Talladega, those aren't short tracks. Car doesn't work there. Sonoma, Watkins Glen, road courses in general. All of these different tracks all have one thing in common: the car. The car is the common denominator. It's time to accept facts. I made a video actually before this weekend for Bristol about the race that changed everything. And for me, it was the 2012 spring race. It was the antithesis of everything we wanted from Bristol. And it wasn't necessarily a horrible race, but it just wasn't a good Bristol race for what we have in our minds. And they changed a lot. This has the same feel of a race that we all expected to have something worthwhile and good because it's freaking Bristol, and we didn't. And listen, I get it. A lot of people are probably going to talk about this. The tires. Well, I get that the tires are a big factor in all of it, but this is not what we should be associating with good racing. It was cool last year because it broke up the monotony of terrible short track racing. But this is more similar to 2008 at the Brickyard than it is to the 2002 Bristol night race, where Rusty and Jeff Gordon were going back and forth, and a bump and run at the end gave us a great win and a great addition to a rivalry. This is what we were hoping for. That's how far we've fallen. That's how much we've lowered the bar. I don't get me wrong. Last year's race was fun. And it was fun because it was old school in the sense that people had to save their stuff. But this is not what I want every week. This isn't what I want when I go to Martinsville or Richmond or Sonoma, anywhere really. Plus, the other problem is these cars are made to be excessively even. Parity was the big word we always heard when marketing this car. And that sounds nice. It sounds really nice. And now look what we have. This is from a good friend of the channel, Auto Racing Analytics, who put out, had the final 50 laps of the Cup race at Bristol been based on the fourth quarter median lap speed data alone, this is roughly where the top 15 fastest cars would have finished on track. Cars are too identical without tire wear to separate. Also, sorry, Blaney fans. Yeah, Blaney was pretty fast. But look at that. All of these cars are under a blanket. Had any of these cars been put a second ahead with 50 to go, they probably would have all won. Why? Because it's difficult to pass. Maybe Ross Chastain might have been the best one since he actually passed everyone in this race but 6 cars. But look at that. There needs to be separation in order to be passing. And I get that people will say, well, it is the tires. Yeah, okay, the tires definitely could wear more. But it's also the track, too. The fact that an 8-degree difference in days was what caused there to be this and not this is insanity to me. So there are a lot of factors. The car, yes, but I will say the track, too. Since the reconfiguration of Bristol, from what worked, what brought in 160,000 fans for 10, 15 years of sellouts, whatever it was, changing away from that did not help. And while I have liked since 2012 what Bristol has been, it's not the same. It isn't. They've had great races. The 2012 night race to me was one of the best Bristol night races ever because it mixed everything that was good about both versions of Bristol, the new and the old, together. And there's been amazing ones since then. 2018, amazing night race. 2019, I was there. It was amazing the entire way through. Both the 2020 races were great at Bristol. The Gen 6 car wasn't great, but Bristol still was, or at least it could be. It was very hit or miss, inconsistent. Now you take that out of it. What do you have? You have a husk of its former self. And I get it'll be fun for people who are at the track. There's a lot of people who are at the track who are saying, stop complaining to every one of us that's upset with it. And maybe it was Fox not showing a lot of good battles. I'll give them that. But the track is not working. If you have to put something sticky on the bottom of the track for 10 years to encourage good racing, maybe the track is broke too. So I think the answer lies somewhere with both, not just the tires. And I don't want short tracks to go the way of the dodo, where we just don't see them much anymore. And I fear that that's more realistic now than ever. If people aren't showing up to the track, if they're not watching on TV, what was the saving grace when it came to short tracks? It was the racing. You take the racing aspect out, and it's just 6 races or so a year that we get bored at. Why would NASCAR keep going? So what are the fixes here? Well, I think there's 3 that people have talked about the most. One is add horsepower. We have done everything else to these cars. We tinkered with aero changes. We've messed with the tires. We've done everything. Let's just add some horsepower in. If for anything else it doesn't work, at least it'll shut the fans up about it and we can find something else to complain about. I'm all for that. People like Denny Hamlin have said that it can happen. Drivers are clamoring for it. People behind the scenes say it's feasibly possible if NASCAR would just give the green light. Why not? Hell, Dodge, who's supposedly coming back to the NASCAR Cup Series in 2027, they're embracing more horsepower when it comes to their street cars. So why can't a racing series do the same? Another one that people have talked about is specific packages for specific tracks. Listen, we tried to have a car that could race everywhere, could race Talladega one week, Richmond the next with the COT. It didn't work out. We ended up having, for the most part, different tracks with different packages. Look at the super speedways, for instance. I think it's time to just admit the fight is lost. You gotta specialize a little bit. Maybe not have it for everyone. Maybe have a short track and road course package like you did with the Gen 6. Super speedway package differentiated more, and then one for the rest. Sure, we can do that. I think that that's actually probably one of the most realistic ones if they don't have to change too much internally. That's a big if, though. The other one that people have talked about, and I think this is a long-term one, is maybe we just need a brand new car. Maybe the car itself just sucks that bad and is that broken, and NASCAR needs to bite the bullet. I get that cost saving is something all the teams in the industry is talking about, but my fan side, and I know the fan side of millions of others probably agree with me, we really don't care if we're bored off our asses about it. When there's people willing to admit they're turning Bristol off, things are broken and need to be fixed. So that's my take on it, my rant, if you will. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much, all my channel members, for your continued support. Be sure to like, subscribe, all of that jazz. And until next time, have a good one.